Okay, so this is a short demonstration on how to take your finished cereal box art and turn it into a 3D mock-up that looks kind of like this. It's something that gives you a little bit more of a special effect, a finished Photoshop photographic look that's a little bit more portfolio appropriate. So this is a pretty quick and simple process, and hopefully it's pretty easy to follow along with. So to start with, I'm going back into my Illustrator document. You should have at this point a front and a side of your cereal box. I'm going to start by taking the front of my box, and all I need to do is just copy this, and going back into Photoshop, I'm looking for a couple of layers in here. One is, they both say put your graphic here. One is going to be the front and one is going to be the side panel. So all I have to do is just double click. I want to double click on the actual icon of the layer here. So double click on this, and it's going to open up a new document over here. And all I need to do when I come into here is I'm going to go to paste, and I want to choose Smart Object, and I want to make sure that this add to my current library is not checked. Click OK, and it's going to drop it in here. When it comes in, it may not be the exact correct size, and so you'll need to scale it around a little bit. By default, Photoshop likes to scale things proportionally, so you may need to distort it a little bit, and that's absolutely fine if you need to distort it. It's going to turn out looking likely it's going to be just fine. So as you scale it, it's going to scale things proportionately, but what you can do is if you hold the Shift key down and grab one of these little white boxes on the edge and drag it, it will distort it for you. And once you get to each side of this box, you'll come up to the top and click on the checkbox here. Once you're done with that, you can delete all of the other layers in here. As long as you can see what you've got here, you're going to be fine. But keeping your layers clean, I like to go in and select all my layers and keep them kind of cleaned up and get rid of everything I don't need. So if I shift click on this, I have my Vector Smart Object, the one that I just pasted in here on top, and I'm going to click on my ellipse copy layer here, and if I go to the very bottom and I hold down the Shift key and click on this last one, it will select all these layers. Once all those layers are selected, I click on the trash can and it will delete everything that I don't need. Now that it's in here and I've got my layers cleaned up, I can close this tab up here at the top. And when I do that, it's going to ask me if I want to save, and I'll say yes, I want to save. And you can see that it just brings it in and makes it already kind of three-dimensional for you. So obviously the next step is we're going to drop in the side panel. So if I double click on the side panel, it'll open up this kind of generic graphic. I'll go back into Illustrator, grab my side panel here, and copy that. Go back into Photoshop, go to the top layer here, and I'm going to paste that in place. Add a Smart Object, again making sure that it doesn't have it adding to my library. And then I just need to scale it up to size, and then hold the Shift key down when I click on these other ones to distort it. And then once it's all correct, you click the little check mark here and it'll confirm your edits to your pasted in Smart Object. Again, I come in here and the very top layer, I put in my Vector Smart Object, and don't have to do this, but I like to keep my layers clean. So I'm going to shift click, or I'm going to click on this top layer here once, and then if I go down to my bottom layer, which is this put your graphic here, hold on Shift and click on that, and it should select all those layers. And then I just click on the trash can and it gets rid of those again. Okay, and then once I have this in place, then I can close this tab, and it'll ask me if I want to save it, and I say yes, and there it is. Now at this point you have your cereal box dropped in. It's in 3D already. This template has a little bit of a drop shadow already on it, but it's on a white background, so it looks like it's just kind of floating in space, which is totally fine. You could also in here, if you get rid of these bottom three layers, basically your cereal box is kind of is in transparency mode there, so everything behind it is knocked out. But if you want to make this look like it's in 3 dimensions and it's in an environment, then you can add a couple of different elements to it. So I'll show you how I do this in Google. So opening up Google, or opening up Chrome, I'm going to do a search in here for, you can see I've already done some searches in here, but wood, texture, background, and click enter. And you can see I'm already getting some entries in here, but I want to refine this a little bit. So I'm going to click on images, and then when I go to images, I'm getting even more options, but I want to make sure that I'm getting high resolution images. And the way to do that in Google image search is to click on the tools button up here, and then go to size and select large. And now I'm a little bit more certain that all the images I'm getting are high resolution. So I can kind of sift through here and look for an image that I think is going to look good. I'm just going to grab one real quick here. That looks like it's looks like it's kind of low resolution. We'll see. If we go to this website, we'll see what we get here. Okay, so there's the image, and looks like there's some different images on how to copy this and get it download full size. Every time you do this, you're going to get something a little bit different. I could probably get it from here by downloading the full size, but I'm going to show you another option here. If I click on another image, for example, this other way is usually the way things will come up. Let's see, we'll try this one here. Okay, so this one looks high resolution already, and if I click down here, you see it says 1000 by 1500. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this image. I'm going to say open image in new tab, and it's going to isolate this image in a new tab. And if I click on it, you can see it gets a little bit more higher resolution. This I'm reasonably sure is going to be a high enough resolution. So I'm going to right click on this and copy the image, and then go back into Photoshop. And now I want to go on top of this, or I'm sorry, on top of the depth information layer here, and then I go in and I say edit, paste, and that'll paste that image in. Now, once I bring this image in, I want to turn it into what's called a smart object. And a smart object is just an embedded, it basically takes that image that we have in here and it turns it into a protected embedded file. You'll learn more about what this means next term in the Photoshop class. But what we want to do to make this into a smart object is when we have this layer selected, we right click on the name, which is layer 1. We're going to right click on this name, and we go up and say convert to smart object. And you can tell it's a smart object because it has a little document icon in the lower right hand corner of the icon itself. So now what I can do is I want to start sizing and distorting this image a little bit. So I'm going to go to edit, transform, and when we go to this edit transform, we're going to be using this quite a bit. So out of everything we're learning in this process, this is the menu we're going to probably use the most. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go first, I'm going to go to edit, transform, and say scale. And I'm just going to kind of squish this to the size that I want. And the size that I want is I basically want to get it to the edge of the frame on the bottom and the right and left. So I'm going to hold shift and distort it out to this side and then to this side, and then on the top I'm going to squish this down to kind of where I want the top of my table to be. Okay, once I've got that about where I want it, then I'm going to go up to edit, transform, and we're going to use perspective this time because the table looks like it's coming kind of straight out, so we want to get a little bit of a distortion so that it's going out in an angle. So once we've got the edit, transform, perspective, I grab one of these corners, the right or the left, click on it, and drag it out until it looks like the perspective is about right. That looks about right to me. And then once I've got it where I like it, then I come up and click on the little check mark up here, and that just confirms my edits. And you can see already it looks like it's a lot better, like it's actually sitting on top of this wooden table. Then I can go back into Google, and I'm going to search for another image. I'm going to search for a wallpaper, texture, background. And then I'm going to search for images. We'll see what comes up here. I'm going to add one more thing to this. I'm going to add pattern, because I'm looking to actually add a wallpaper as if you would have on a wall instead of what you would have on your desktop. Okay, so pattern, and there's lots of different options here. So I'll pick one that looks somewhat realistic. Let's see. Kind of like this green one here. And let's see, I want to make sure that I've got high resolution selected. I forgot to do that. So up here at the top, I'm going to go back to Tools, and I'm going to say Size Large, just to make sure we've got a high resolution image in here. And then I'm going to search around a little bit and just see if I can find one that looks good. Let's see, this red one might be good. Actually, this blue one. Let's go do that one. Let's see, so that's about 1600 by 1000 pixels, and that should be pretty good. So I'm going to right click on this image and say Open Image in New Tab. There it is, it's opened up. So I'm going to right click on this image and we're going to copy it. And I go back into Photoshop, and then I can paste it right over the top of this. So I'm going to go Edit, Paste, and there it is. And then I'm going to turn this into a smart object also. So I right click on the name, convert to smart object, and then I just want to make sure that it goes behind, it's behind the cereal box, but I want to make sure it's behind this tabletop. So I'm going to click and drag this layer down below this. So now it's behind there. When I get this layer selected, I'm going to edit it so that I can stretch it out to make sure it's covering the whole wall. So go Edit, Transform, Scale, and then I can kind of move this around and scale it about the way I think it looks the best. And then once I'm done, I can click the check mark. Okay. If I feel like everything looks good in here, you can always go in and experiment with trying to add other drop shadows. That's not necessary, but if you want to do that, that's to make it look better. That's absolutely a great practice to do. But mostly just want to have you experiment with dropping in some texture in the background and for a tabletop. We got this pretty much finished up. The last step before finishing this off is you just want to save this out. You'll want to save the native Photoshop document just in case you want to go back and edit it again. And so what you'll do is you'll go in and say Save, and you do a Save As, and then you can save it. This is just saved as serialmockup.psd. Use the naming convention that's in the assignment, and for this you can use it for your zip file and for your PDF. So I'm just going to leave this for now as serial mockup. So I'm going to save this as a Photoshop file, and I'm just going to overwrite that. Okay, and then last thing is creating a PDF of this. So I'm going to do Save a Copy, because I want to leave this this native one. We're just going to save a copy here, and we're going to choose to save this as a PDF. When we save this as a PDF, I'm going to get rid of layers because the layers make it a much larger file. Say Save As, say OK here, and then what we're going to choose is we're going to choose a smallest file size PDF. If you're ever saving a PDF out of Photoshop, you always want to make sure you shut this Preserve Photoshop Editing Capabilities off, because it'll make it a much larger file if you do leave that on. It almost takes the whole purpose of saving it as a PDF away. So I'll say Save PDF, and now go back in to my downloads now, and now I have my PDF and my serial mockup, and you can upload this PDF to the assignment, and then you can print out from your Photoshop file the piece that will actually critique in the hallway. Okay, I hope this was helpful, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's work. Thanks very much. I will see you guys soon.